Hey, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. And I am your host, Karen Bailey. Please let me know when you're on. I would love to say hello to everybody. You guys, I want to first welcome you to our first Talk About It Thursdays podcast for 2026. You guys, we need to recognize what a blessing. Hey, Brandy. Hey, Kinsley. We really need to recognize what a blessing it is that we're still here and that we made it to 2026. So that's the first thing I want us to do is just acknowledge just how fortunate we are. 2025 may not have been the best year, but you know what? We made it. And that's the thing that we need to focus on. We are here. We are here. So you guys, I wanted to first of all give honor to God and say a quick prayer for this year, for 2026, because you know what? How you start your year is usually how you finish. And I recommend that you start your year being appreciative, starting your year, making sure you're praying every day, starting your year trying to be a blessing to somebody else. And I promise you, that will not come back void. God will bless you a million times over when your heart is right. So that's what we want to focus on this year, is getting our hearts right and making sure that we are being grateful, making sure we are being present in the moment and that we're not taking this time that God has given us for granted. So let's start with a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you. I thank you for allowing us to cross over into the threshold of 2026. No, we do not know what this year is going to bring, Father God, but we know that you know. And God, because you know, we can have comfort in that, knowing that you promised us in your word that you would bless us and that you would keep us and that you would make sure that we're protected and that we are provided for. And we believe you, God. And God, we take you at your word. And God, I ask that you bless everyone with Sister I Got You, Father God. Give them a supernatural blessing in 2026. Give them a reason to shout in 2026. Give them the thing that's missing in their lives in 2026. And I pray this for everyone. And God, just continue to guide us and keep us and help us to remember you are the reason for everything that we do. You are the very reason that we are. And God, we thank you. We love you. And we just are so grateful. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Let's get started so that I can get you guys off of the line so that y'all can finish with your day. Hope everybody had an amazing Thursday. All right, you guys, it's good to be here, but we've got to do something more than just be here this year. You know, last year, I think we got our heads on straight. Last year, I believe that we started taking life a little bit more seriously, because I've been kind of watching you guys on social media, seeing how you're progressing throughout the year. And I can honestly say the people that I've been following, the people that I've been peeking in on, they seem to be doing better this year. We've all had some setbacks, but nobody's given up. Everybody's been pushing forward. And that's really all that we can do. And I hope you guys had a beautiful holiday. I hope you took that time. Last time I was on, I talked to y'all about how isolation is killing us, how separating ourselves from everybody is killing us. So I hope that you took the time to write down that list of names that I told you about, of people that you haven't reached out to or called or sent a text message to in a long time. So I hope that you took that to heart and you reached out to some people and let them know that they were not forgotten and that you do still care about them and that you just wanted to check on them. With this start of the new year, it's the perfect time, you guys, to put a plan in place. You know, people that don't plan often don't succeed, but we want to be successful in everything that we do. But we've got to do the work. We've got to do the background stuff. You know, everybody wants to hop to the limelight so quick. If you don't do the background stuff, it won't last. So we're going to start our background stuff in 2026. So it's time to put a plan in order. Hey, Janet, to make this year the best year possible. Because all of us, we've been through so much this year. You know, we have gone through some things that maybe we thought we would never go through. We've watched our friends and our family and even our classmates. I've seen classmates go through some things this year. And we've seen so much, you know, all of the stuff in the news, all the stuff that's been going on in Hollywood, all this Diddy stuff, all of that stuff came to light this year. We weren't surprised by it, but so many things were revealed to us this year. All we had to do is pay attention. And then we have tolerated so much, you guys. There's been so much going on just in our personal lives, just in the fact that we're here in the United States and with the government that we have and all the different changes and things that have been going on. We have tolerated so much, you guys. But we've also got so much to be thankful for. And I don't know about you guys, but I learned some very valuable lessons in 2025. And it did open my eyes about this world, this country. It opened my eyes about people that, you know, try to be in your circle or people that you so-called call associates. God will show you what you need to see, but you've got to be willing to open your eyes. And sometimes it's just a matter of being quiet, observing, and just paying attention. Each year should bring us wisdom and lessons that we can learn from so that we can strategize in the next year. You know, we didn't just go through all that stuff that we went through just to be going through it. We went through it for it to help us learn something, to get a lesson so that we can use wisdom so that maybe we don't have to go through some of the same things we went through last year. So let's use what we learned from 2025 in order to strategize so that this year will be better for everyone. So think about what you learned last year. Think about how it changed you. You know, I know personally for me, I am not the same person I was last year. It's like I find out something new about myself with each passing year. And I finally found my voice when it comes to allowing people to treat me any kind of way. 2025, for some reason, it's like I found my voice. I finally was not worried about what people thought about me. If I felt like I was not being appreciated, I left the room. If I felt like my time was being wasted, I left the room. If I felt like you were trying to manipulate me, I left the room with no excuses and no apologies. And I thank God for that I finally found my voice so that I will know that the way that I treat myself and allow other people to treat me, it actually teaches them how I feel about myself. It actually teaches them how to treat me by what I allow people to do. So I know last year for me, I finally found my voice, and that's with people out in the world and even with my family. You know, sometimes family will try to take over and manipulate you and try to use you, and you have to stand up to them sometime, and you have to be willing to be ostracized a little bit, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. So what is it about last year that you learned that changed the way that you thought about things, the way you walked or the way you acted, and the way that you spoke? What is it about last year that changed you? That's what I want you to focus on today. And if you have time to grab a pen and paper, I just want to talk about some things, and if you'll just take some notes for me. And I encourage you guys to journal about your feelings, Because sometimes you can't tell everybody everything that you're going through, but you can always tell God everything that you're going through. And sometimes you just need to write things out and read it for yourself in order to get your healing. And I'll tell people that if you need a therapist, they're available online, y'all. You don't even have to go in an office now. So don't ever be ashamed to get the help that you need. It's nobody's business. It's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, as a nurse, I see a lot of people struggling and suffering with anxiety and depression and just feeling unloved, you guys. So you need some people that you can talk to about the way that you're feeling to help you unpack that stuff so that you don't have to carry that stuff year after year after year. So I hope y'all got your paper. So I'm going to say that again. Think about what you learned last year that changed you. Number one, how did it change the way you think? Number two, how did it change the way you walk or how you act? And number three, how did it change the way that you speak? Those are questions and answers that only you can provide. But take time to think about last year and what it meant to you, what it did to you, whether it was bad or good. Write it down. And that way you can start strategizing on what you want to happen this year and what you don't want to happen this year. And that's one of those things I'm learning to do. When something has happened and it's changed me and it's shaped me, I don't want to go back to the person I used to be. So I have to write those things down and say, you know what, you had to go through this, and this to get right here. So don't you go backwards. Don't you dabble with that again. Don't you deal with that person again. Don't you get caught up with that group again. You don't want to lose all the footing and all the positive steps you've made. You need to write it down and just make it plain and ask God to help you to keep moving forward. Because it's easy to get sucked back in to gossip. It's easy to get sucked back into backbiting. It's easy to get sucked back into fornication. It's easy to get pulled into those things. And then wisdom, you guys, is something we should always pray for. You know, wisdom comes from God. It's not from your education. It's not by how many degrees you have behind your name. Wisdom comes from God above. And it's meant to change your life for the better. And this is why we should always pray for wisdom. Pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That's something I keep praying for every day because I want God to increase. I want him to increase me. I want him to increase my intellect. I want him to increase my diversity. You know, I don't want to be single-minded. I want to be open-minded to where I can understand this position over here and that position over there. I don't want my mind closed. But I know that it takes wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to get to that part. And then it's time to get focused, you guys. It's time to get excited about your life. If you have not been excited up to this point, be excited by the fact that you're still here, that people younger than you have left this earth. Be excited that you have what you already have. Be excited that you have people that love you, that you have a roof over your head, that you have a job or a way to get income. Be excited about those things. Somebody is wishing they were you. Somebody's wishing they were in the position that you were in. So it's time to get excited about your life. You know, people don't tend to appreciate what they have until something happens and they lose everything. So don't let that be you. Be excited about what you already have and ask God to give you increase. But he's going to expect you to be a good steward over what you have. And that means you're going to have to be grateful and you're going to have to be doing the right things with what you already have. And the enemy loves to steal our focus. Because if he can steal our focus, he can stop your progress. And there are plenty of distractions, especially last year. Like I said before, all this stuff with the Diddy trial, and then with our president doing this, that, and the other, and all these wars and bombings and just political unrest, government shutdown, rising cost of everything from groceries to prescriptions to anything that you can think of. The cost has gone up. And then all these different tariffs and stuff, so that when you order things, you have to pay an extra fee. So it's costing us more to get the things that we need, and it's taking it longer for it to get to us. There have been massive layoffs in 2025. A lot of people that had really good jobs have lost their jobs, and they're still struggling to try to get back to a position, a job that pays enough to allow them to live the lifestyle that they've been living. And then, of course, we know technology development was on the rise in 2025. Computers are taking the place of people. Computers are doing things that we expect humans to do. And unfortunately, those things are going to increase. And then all the natural disasters and climate change that we've been seeing. There was wildfires in Los Angeles. There was a deadly flood in Central Texas. There was a Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica. It's just so much that went on in 2025. And it's enough to make you anxious. It's enough to make you worried if you allow it. This is why we must keep our eye on God. And we must keep an eye on the purpose that God has for us. And it starts with creating habits that actually stick. You know, a lot of people, and I've done it myself so many times, have made these New Year's resolutions. Oh, come January 1, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You know, sometimes that January 1 is your problem. Because everybody says that on New Year's. Why don't you give it a week and start with small habits? I did an acronym for STICK. Things that you can stick to, habits you can stick to. S, start small. Quit trying to boast about the big thing that you're going to do. Start small. Even the slightest change, if you're consistent, will grow. So start small. And then T, tie whatever you're trying to do differently into your identity. Make sure it's a habit that you don't have to force to do. You know, if you don't like running, quit saying I'm going to start running this year. If you don't like diets, quit saying I'm going to diet. You know, diet is a horrible word for me. I don't like the word diet, but I like the words eating healthier. Because eating healthier means I make choices. Diet means a bunch of you can't have, you can't have, you can't have. When I get to make the choices and I think about why I'm making those choices, you have to have a purpose for what you're doing. If you look at your life and say, you know what, I have not been the best steward over this body that God has given me. You know, that was one of those things that me and God talked about. I said, God, I want to be a better steward over this body that you've given me. I'm getting older and I need this body to be in better shape than where it's at. And I said, God, if you'll help me, I want to make healthier choices. And you guys, what I've started doing is I've admitted where I went wrong. I admitted all the times that I said, oh, this year I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this diet. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I said, I'm not saying that anymore. I said, but I will commit to God to eat healthier because it's no longer just about me. Now I've made a commitment to God. Now I say, God, you know what? You gave me this body and I need to do a better job of taking care of it. So help me. Help me to be able to help myself. You know, a lot of times we try to do things in our own strength. But you got to understand those bad habits, those bad ways of doing things, those things are ingrained in you. It's ingrained in you. So you need something bigger than you. Something bigger than you to help you with that. So I'm learning to talk to God. That's another thing my T is for. It's for talk to God about whatever you're trying to do this year. Talk to God, because you're going to need his strength. You're going to need his strength to do whatever you're trying to do to make your life better, because it's going to require discipline. And the flesh does not like to sacrifice. Can I get an amen? The flesh does not like to sacrifice. So you need something beyond you. You need to tap into your spirit man in order for him to take control and say, you know what? You and God have this covenant. That's not going to be good for your body. Do what's good for your body. Do what you said. So tie it into your identity. Do things that you know you like to do, that's part of your personality, that you can actually stay with and be committed to. Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. And then I insert whatever you're trying to change into your daily routine. Wake up thinking about it. Make it part of your day. Check yourself at the end of the day to see if you did that habit that you're trying to create. Make sure you don't go to bed until you do something that's towards that habit that you are trying to create, that good habit. And then C, choose consistency over intensity. You know, sometimes people try to do too much too fast. Sometimes people try to go to the gym and work out for an hour and hurt themselves and strain. No, it's about consistency. It's about going for that 30 minutes and being faithful with it. You can do in that 30 minutes of faithfulness more than you can do by pushing yourself 1 or 2 hours, and then you're so sore and you're so tired you have to skip 3 or 4 days because you're hurting so bad. If you would just be consistent and choose that over intensity, because it's not about perfection. You will never be perfect, ever, in this lifetime. There is no perfect man. So understand, it's about consistency, not perfection. And then K, keep going even when the motivation dies. Remember your commitment to yourself. Remember your commitment to God. That's why it's important to commit it to God, because we'll give up on things that we commit to ourselves and make 1,000,001 excuses. And because we're flesh, we'll allow ourselves to do it. But when you know you've made a commitment to God to do better, it hits different. I swear it hits different. You know, I've made this commitment myself and started eating more vegetables and everything. And so I won't go to bed unless I know that I've had some vegetables. And that has never been me. But I made a commitment to God that I was going to treat my body better in 2026. So that was stick to a habit. And then it's time for us to choose. That's the next thing. It's time for us to choose. You know, sometimes we're here, there, and the other, trying to wear 1,001 hats. God has never told us to do that. God has never told us to be everything to everybody. That is a man-pleasing behavior. Because your body will tell you when you're tired. And if you're pushing yourself past what you can tolerate just to please other people, then you're serving them. You're not serving God. God calls you to rest. God calls you to take care of your body. God calls you to pay attention to the symptoms that are going on in your body. When you're doing all of that, ignoring that, then you're no longer serving God. You're serving man, or you're serving a position, or you're serving accolades. You want people to praise you. You want people to see you. So you're serving yourself. So think about why you do what you do. But it's time to choose, you guys. It's time to choose 3 to 5 things that are a major priority in your life and work on these things for the remainder of 2026. 3 to 5, not 10. 3 to 5 things. That's enough for a year, you guys. If you're going to work on it and being consistent, 3 to 5 things is enough. You just have to sit down and choose what is a major priority in your life. And then once you've gotten that thing together for 2026 and 2027, you can use that same method and choose 3 to 5 different things, because you can focus better if you're not trying to do everything at one time. So how do you begin? I'm glad you asked. That's why I told you to get a piece of paper. Okay? Number 1 is called brain dumping, which is basically sitting down with your piece of paper and list everything that's taken your time and your energy. Everything that takes your time and energy, whether it is your obligations, your relationships, or your hobbies. Sit down and write down everything that takes your energy and your time. And then once you do that, identify your core values. What qualities do you admire about yourself? If you don't admire anything about you, how do you expect anybody else to admire you? And then write down, what do you feel like you like the most about yourself? These are things nobody ever asks themselves. But you need to start asking yourself, what are my core values? What means something to me? What qualities do I admire about myself? And then, how do I feel? How do I feel about me? What do I like the most about me? Write those qualities down. And then ask some key questions. What do I enjoy most? And what do I talk about the most? See, these things are going to help you decide what's important to you. So what do I enjoy most and what do I talk about the most? The next question is, who are my heroes and why? The next question is, what would I do if I had a clear schedule? What would you do if your schedule was completely clear? You didn't have to work. You didn't have to take care of anybody. You just had some free days. What would you do? And the last question I want you to ask yourself is, what am I willing to work hard for in order to get something meaningful out of it? Hey, Cindy, what am I willing to work hard and sacrifice for to get something meaningful out of it? Those things will start helping you to define your list and break it down to those 3 to 5 things that you want to work on. Next, number 2 is called prioritization and ranking. Now, you got to narrow this list down, because some of us have had a lot of things in 2025 that took our energy, our time. And so you may have a very long list. So it's time to prioritize and rank these things in the order of importance. Okay? You got to choose the top 3 to 5 most important areas in your life, whether it be your health, your family, your career, your finances, your personal growth. Make a list of the 5 top areas. And if you don't have 5, you can do 3 to 5 most important areas in your life that you feel like you really need to work on in 2026. And then next, rank them in the order of importance. Is your health the most important thing? Is your family most important to you? Is your career most important to you? Do you need money to be the most important thing for you? Or is your personal growth? That's a question that only you have the answer to, because your priorities are not going to be like my priorities. That's why it's good to look on your own paper instead of looking over at what other people do. Quit trying to copy other people's lives. God made us individuals for an absolute reason. That was not a mistake. This is what's important to you. I don't care what anybody else says about it. You don't need their opinion. What is important to you that you want to work on in 2026? And then next, define your non-negotiables. You know, a lot of times we let a lot of things slide and we settle. That's the word. God spoke to me about settling last year. And it changed my mind about a lot of things. You know, people try to define you by your age, by your race, by the size of your body, and try to tell you you need to settle, to try to make you feel less than, like you don't have options. I promise you, you have options, but you have to set your non-negotiables, because you will always get any and everything if you don't do that. You will never be able to get what you want by allowing any and everything in your life. And then with those non-negotiables, these are the things that you will not let yourself get distracted from this year. These are the things that are so important to you, whether it be your health. Maybe you need to get your finances up. Maybe you need to get you an emergency fund. You know, last year that was what it was for me. I was like, you know what? I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm broke. Broke has never looked good on me. And so I said, in order for me to get myself in a position, because I got bills, I got things I got to pay, I have to sacrifice some things so that I can start building my emergency fund, so that I can have a little bit of security, so that I don't feel like if something happens tomorrow, or if this job disappears tomorrow, that I'm going to be destitute, that I'm going to have to, reach out and beg for this, beg for that. If that is one of your top priorities, it's okay, because that will make you feel better about yourself. It'll make you feel more secure. It'll help with your confidence level. It'll help you learn what's important and how to prioritize. Because when you're trying to save money, you will find that you have a lot of spending habits where you're wasting money. When you really get serious about it, and we're going to talk about that probably next time, about money matters. We waste so much money on things that don't even matter, you guys. But when you prioritize and decide that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will start sacrificing some things. You will start doing things a different way, so that you're not just wasting money and just putting money out there and it disappear. So define your non-negotiables, what you will not allow yourself to get distracted from in 2026. Number 3, now it's time for action and alignment. You're going to have to test yourself sometimes, you guys. Test the decisions that you made this year against the list that you're making today. Mid-year, look back at the list that you're making today of your priorities, those 3 to 5 things, and see if you've gotten off track. Because at that point, you still got another 6 months. And if you're like me, I'm checking myself every 3 years. 3 months, even maybe every other month. Because I know how life is and how it can get you caught up, and before you know it, you're doing too much over here or doing too much over there, and then you've forgotten about the strategy that you set up today. So make a list today, and then you're going to have to test the decisions that you make against what you put on your list. Ask yourself, when you're deciding to do something or go somewhere or be with this person or that person, does this line up with what I wrote down? Is this going to sabotage what I wrote down on this paper? And it'll help you make better decisions. You have to keep yourself accountable. And another thing, if you're able to, find somebody that loves you enough, share your list. Share your list with somebody else. But I'm not saying share it blindly. Invite them to do the same list. And then y'all swap lists and let them see what you're working on, and you can see what they're working on, and you can help them be accountable, and they can help you be accountable. Because it helps to have somebody checking on you sometime and saying, hey girl, how's it going with this house that you're trying to buy? How's it going with your exercise? How's it going with your healthy eating? This is what I ate today. You know, it helps to know that somebody else cares and somebody else is rooting for you to be successful. So if you're able to, but if not, you be accountable for you. We're all grown. Be accountable for you. And make sure the decisions that you're making line up with the priorities on your list. And like I say, do this throughout the whole year and it'll keep you focused on the list that you're writing today. Next, set SMART goals. Turn big goals into priorities and break it down. Sometimes we need something big this year, but it's too big for us to tackle all at once. Break that thing down into little pieces, into steps, and figure out what you're going to do in the first 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 9 months. Break it down and you'll be able to attain it. Sometimes we try to tackle something that's so big all at once and we have to gradually get to where we need to get to. And when you set SMART goals, those goals are going to be A, specific, B, something that you can measure, C, achievable, something that you can look back and judge your progress on. And D, it's going to be relevant. It's going to mean something. If it's a SMART goal, it's going to mean something. It's going to be something that's going to make your life better. And E, it's going to be time sensitive. You know, anybody can talk about what they're going to do and end up talking about it year after year after year because you didn't put a time limit on it. If you're smart, you put a time limit on it and you test yourself. And if you're not where you need to be, reassess the situation, see where you're going wrong, see where what's holding you back, re-strategize, and you set another time limit. Because that is the only way that you're going to be able to reach all the goals that you're planning for this year. You are going to have to be specific. You're going to have to measure it out to make sure everything's going good. You got to make sure it's something that you can actually achieve. Make sure it's relevant to the lifestyle and the life that you're trying to have. And make sure that it's time-bound, time-sensitive, to where you're not talking about the same stuff every year. People get sick of hearing you talk about what you're going to do every year and not getting it done. And I wrote as an example, you know, people that said they're going to get into fitness. Start out by going for a walk 3 times a week and then gradually bump yourself up. You ain't got to run a marathon. Start small and then remember why you're doing it. And then make sure that if you're walking a mile, increase to 1.5 miles to 2 to 2.5. Those are those achievable goals. And is it relevant? Yes, because it's going to help you get healthier. Is it time bound? Absolutely. I've got a month to be more consistent and try to increase from walking 1 mile to 1.5 miles. Give yourself a time limit to push yourself to that next level. And then we have to learn how to differentiate urgency from importance. Don't let other people's unplanned emergencies become your priority. I'm going to say that again because that used to happen to me all the time. People call me, girl, this is, but it's something you didn't plan for, so that's why it's an emergency for you, but it's not mine. So don't let other people's unplanned emergencies become your priority. You know, don't allow people's situations to take over your life. Don't allow people to try to interfere with your life because they made a bad decision or something is finally, as they say, chickens have finally come to roost. That means that all of that you've been doing, now you're paying the consequences for it. Hey, Sam. So now all of a sudden you want to make it my emergency. No. We're going to be supportive, but that is not your emergency. Your job is to be supportive. And just because it's an emergency for them doesn't mean you have to stop everything you're doing. and make it a priority. Some people just love attention. Some people just love drama, and a lot of people will waste your time and throw you off track if you're not careful. And then people make bad decisions, and then they're shocked why things didn't work. I'm learning, and I had to learn this in 2025. Right at the end of the year, something was asked of me by a family member, and she tried to do it in front of some other people, not knowing how God has been working with me in 2025 about getting my voice back and about being my authentic self and about not allowing people to walk over me. Baby, when she heard that word no, not only did I say no, I said the devil is a lie. And it flowed out so quick, I couldn't even think of the words. It just pushed out. And she was in shock, but was trying to embarrass me in front of other people. But you know what? I've been practicing the word no because it's my right to say no. I don't owe people anything. You don't owe people anything. You have a right to say no if that's something that's not in agreement with your life right now. You have the right to have your peace. You have the right to make decisions for yourself. And understand, people won't like you, but you have to make yourself a priority. And you have to prioritize your needs over theirs. And just know, when you say yes to everything, that means that you're saying no to something else. And usually you're saying no to yourself. Next, number 4, it's time to review and adapt. Review your list. And it's time to adapt. It's time to do the work now. It's time to say, okay, I'm serious about it now. Check in regularly and revise your priorities and reorder your list in your life if you need to. Because your values will evolve, and sometimes maybe that family thing throughout the year won't be as important. Maybe it's something with your health is more important. Move that health up. Move that family down and prioritize and do what you need to do, because your life is forever evolving, so things will not stay the same all the time. So you need to be able to adjust those 3 to 5 things. Still keep those things, but you may have to juggle them sometimes. And then look for misalignment. If your goals feel like they're pulling at you, it's too much work and it's like chores, or you're hating what you wrote down, those things you wrote down might not really align with your true priorities. Because if it's really about you being better, if it's really what's important to you, you won't mind doing it. You won't mind doing it. And you'll take the sacrifice, because you know at the end of the year you're going to be better for it. Because those 5 things or those 3 things you wrote down, my life is going to be better if I get these things in order. If I get these things better, like I said, it's about consistency, but not perfection. So a lot of it is about getting better than where you are today. If I can get these 3 to 5 things better, my life is guaranteed to be better. And you guys, my final thought is, like I said earlier, in 2025, we have been through so much. Some of us have been through things that we can't even talk about. But God, He knows. We've seen so much. We've tolerated so much. People don't know about what we tolerate and what we have to deal with from day to day. They just see the smiles on our face. They don't see when we go home exhausted. They don't see when we've got tears in our eyes. They don't see when you got to go outside and count to 10. People don't see those things. We tolerate so much. And then we have so much to be thankful for, because we're still here, y'all. So we still have an opportunity for a better life. Ask yourself, how has all the things you've been through, that you've seen, that you've tolerated, how have those things affected your life? Is it better or worse? or are you just stuck? And if you find that you're stuck, go back to that acronym, like I said, about sticking to positive habits, good habits. You know, seek God first. If you don't do nothing else, start small, but you seek God. And T, talk to God. And tie whatever you're trying to do for the better into your true identity. Stop trying to be like everybody else. What everybody else is doing is not going to work for you. That's right, Sam. Faith, family, finances, and future. See, she got her priorities in order. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the things she's going to focus on. So you got to know what's important to you. Nobody else has to agree with it. I, insert it into your routine. Make it part of your lifestyle. C, choose consistency over intensity. And then K, keep going even when the motivation fades, because you know that the race is not given to the swift or the strong, but to those who endure to the end. So you know this is a marathon. There's going to be things that's going to be hard for us to go through. But just remember, if we go through it and we push through it, the reward is on the end. And so our success, our peace, those are things we need to make sure that we're focusing on this year. There are things that we can control, and there are things that we can't. And we need to come to grips with that. Because your happiness and your joy can't depend on what happens to you. You can't allow the things of this world to rock you and shake you and have you up one minute, down the next. Get some consistency in your life. And like I say, when you start focusing and making the main thing, and when you bring God in and say, God, I need you to help me with this 3 to 5 things. I want to really work on this year. God is going to help you, but you're going to have to do your part. And we have to get really serious, and we have to get focused, and we have to be willing to take action. You can have the same year that you had in 2025, or you can make 2026 the best year you ever had. Thank you guys for watching. I love y'all. Welcome to 2026. I look forward to being with you guys, talking with you guys this year, and maybe we can even get some events going this year. Who knows? We're going to let God do what he do. But in the meantime, in between time, just know that I love you guys, and I thank you for supporting the page. I thank you guys for all the comments and the posts. Y'all make my day. Don't worry about who likes it and don't like. People are looking at those posts and not commenting, but rest assured, when you do things and you give from your heart, somebody, it might be one person that needed what you put out there. God is going to make sure that one person sees your post. God is going to make sure that if you put it out there for the right reason, if you're doing it in love, because God is love, God is not going to let that go out and be void. It's going to touch somebody. So I just thank you all, and God bless everybody, and I pray we have a safe, prosperous, and a healthy new year. I pray for everyone's health. I pray for everyone's safety. I pray for everyone's peace of mind, because God is able. Thank you guys for watching. I love y'all. I will see y'all next time. Love you. Bye.